We've covered a lot of Walthers for a long time on this channel. Used to be kind of one of the go-tos for Walther content. A while back on the our website, which YouTube won't let me mention, GBGuns Depot, but I can't give you the dot part. We talked about some new releases from Walther. They put out several guns. I think it was 8 or 9 different SKUs, including a new PDP F Pro, which is what we have here for a tabletop review and field strip coming up next on GBGuns. Opening up the nice and broad case, we've got, now I did receive an optics plate. This one is for the Trigicon RMR pattern. The way Walther does these normally, keep in mind this is a media sample, is you get a card with a QR code, you scan it and register your serial number, and they will send you one free plate of the mounting style for optics that you prefer. I've heard some people complain about that. I think it's smart. It lets them cut down on cost, which means the firearm is also less expensive, and it means you're not paying for a bunch of plates you're not going to use. You get the one that you want to use for your optics style. So that's in there. We have 3 18-round magazines. These have appears to be a +2 on them. We'll see if that's really a +2 or if that's just a long base, but I think so. Big Walther nerds will know. We have a magazine loader, our federally mandated lock. We get an additional backstrap to change on this thing, and if you didn't know, Walther was the one that invented or advented the interchangeable backstrap with the P99. So cool that they're doing that. We've got an adjustment tool and wrench for doing our optics, etc. Up top is our manual. If you don't want to see manual stuff, check the timestamps. You can skip the chapters. I do this because, to me, a manual shows how much the company cares about you understanding the product, and if the better done the manual is, the more they actually care about that. The other reason why I do it is YouTube loves to think that when I field strip something that I'm building a gun or facilitating, or they've all types of reasons why they strike these videos. I show in the manual that it is basic end user level maintenance and part of safety to be able to field strip a firearm, and I'm following what is in the manual that comes with the firearm. This manual is beautifully done, nice paper, nice clean print and font. One question I always get is about ammunition, and this happens to be a 3.5-inch barreled model, so +P might be something you want so you can get the proper velocity for 9mm ammunition. +P is okay. It does warn that +P plus is not great and should never be used in Walthers, and they do have a nice point in here about the chamber and different cases from different brands potentially causing issues, which is absolutely true. If you've ever seen one of our What's for Dinner tests, you know that we find that quite often. There's also a thing in here about gun weight versus bullet velocity, which I think is very intuitive and smart. Great basic physics in there that are truth and reality. Now, on ammunition and feeling recoil and things like that, Walther uses a stepped chamber. They've been doing that since at least the P99, so for a long time. That stepped chamber provides a better, tighter seal around the case during ignition, which results in slightly higher velocities, certainly better consistency, but because of that, some people report Walthers as feeling a bit snappy. I've done a video dedicated to this, and most of you in that video said, no, they're not snappy, but in any other video say, oh, Walthers are snappy, but it's a physics thing. You're getting more performance out of your ammunition with a Walther than you are with many other makers. Manual's beautifully done, as I mentioned. We'll see the field strip in here. We also have the registration, a Second Amendment Foundation card, and a deal about the optics plates. This part here is all for the manual reviewer to see that I'm not building a gun or doing modifications to a gun. And now that we've completed that, I also like, this is rare, here's actual instructions on reversing the magwell, or the magazine release, and changing the backstrap. So many gun manuals leave that out. So good job, Walther, for actually doing that. Walther cares, and it shows in the quality and content of this manual. Manual out of the way, time to look at the gun. These are available in a couple different sizes, but this is the 3.5-inch with a full-size frame PDP F Pro. And there are 3 major things that are different. Right off the bat, looking at it, you might notice that it doesn't have all the CIP and European markings on it. I thought that was a bit interesting, and I noticed that this spot here on the frame hold on a second. Tactic Kitty Jr. is getting excited about some paper. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so in this little stretch here, on the German Walthers, it says made in Germany, and that's why we have these CIP proof marks. CIP, if you're not aware, is the European sort of SAMI-like standardization of firearms. However, they go beyond just ammo. You know, SAMI in the US is just for ammo. CIP covers firearms, and things have to be verified if they want to have service, etc. On this PDP-F, we have the Walther Arms, Fort Smith, Arkansas, just like we did on this one, but we do not have made in Germany, and we do not have all of those laser markings. So that leads me to believe that this one was produced in the US. That's thing one. Thing two with the PDP-F series, some say F for female, and that I think kind of hurt the launch of this. Yes, it's great for female, but it's not for only females. And that is that they shortened the trigger reach. So the reach from the back here, this is a standard 4-inch PDP compact. From back here to the trigger is actually shorter by a wee bit. You can see I've got these back straps, there we go, about fair. There's a little bit less reach to the trigger. It's actually smaller in diameter, and there's less distance around through here, which is the most critical part to be able to get your finger on the trigger. If I demonstrate with my hands, I wear double XL gloves. You can see how my finger shoots that far off the trigger guard, and I can come almost to my joint on the trigger if I wanted to overshoot the trigger. On this F, I'm reaching about the same length there, but I can get past my joint onto the trigger if I want to overreach the trigger. So this is built for smaller hands to be able to more comfortably use the gun, which is excellent. And the other aspect that makes it a Pro, what are the differences? Well, in the Pro series, you're getting what's very, very similar to the Walther Performance trigger, which I have installed in this 5-incher. You're getting the magazine well, very similar to what was on the competition models. However, you notice they dropped the back end here. It's just a forward trigger well, magazine well, which means it's going to be more comfortable in your hand. It's not going to stab the back of your hand if you've got large hands. It's also going to be more suited for carry because you don't have that heel kicking out like you would on a more competition-oriented magazine well. So that's a nice touch. The trigger, you're getting the magwell and then 3 of these extended magazines, which makes this thing kind of a nice in-between carryable, completable, what have you, upgrade. The trigger is indeed different than the standard trigger. To me, it feels a little bit different than this performance one, which I purchased and installed. So let's take a look at that. So on our standard PDP, we are clear. Light take up to the wall. Crisp break. The reset and the trigger rearms with about that much travel. If I did that right. Oh, not quite. There we go. Very short. Crisp break again. With this one, what I noticed, and this was similar to the PPQ subcompact, which was also kind of a different gun. I'm thinking because they had to shorten everything in here, we've got a slightly different trigger feel. So we've got that nice flat-faced bit, and the safety dingus, of course, works. Light take up to a wall that has a little more travel to it, and a heavier break. And reset, if I just cock a little bit like I did before, never mind, that time it did it. Reset is short and brings us, oh, did not reset. See, it's got to have full stroke of the slide to reset. So it's a little bit different of a mechanism. The weight is heavier than it is on this one, which is pretty short and light. Not insane, but there's a couple more pounds on this trigger, and I think that is appropriate and excellent for a gun that is more likely to serve multiple roles and or be carried or defensive roles, whereas like a big 5-incher, this is obviously a competition gun. So nicely done there. Now on to our standard tabletop fit, finish, and features. I'm going to lock the side of the rear and look for, wow, that is a polished feed ramp. That's beautiful, especially with that clean follower in there. All right, slide lock to the rear, flip it over, see if we get magazine ejection or release. And we have ejection, that little kick. That's excellent to help get mags out. Additionally, when you've got a steel-bodied mag in polymer, it tends to slide out pretty well. So that's done. We'll check our ambi slide stop and release. It releases easily and it holds easily. That is nice. A lot of companies that have offered these end up losing out to the torsion that happens on that bar, since the actual catch is happening on this side. And so sometimes this side is not functional, but this is lefty friendly and lefty ready. Another good job there, Walther. You can see it's spitting up some factory oil each time I do that. Alright, starting up front, slide to frame fit, we've got quite a bit of play. It's kind of wandering around up there, but that really doesn't matter. That doesn't impact accuracy so long as the barrel is locked in good and tight, and it is, because your sights are going to be moving with the barrel. If the slide is off by a thousandth of a nanometer, you're really not going to notice it. Plus, you're punching a 9mm hole, so it really doesn't matter. Underneath we have 2 slots of a rail, rather short, but that's because this is a 3.5-inch barreled version. They do make other slide lengths, and I haven't tried it with the F-Series, but I believe all of the Walther slides interchange quite well. Nope. Well, maybe. Sometimes these hang up, but we're going to end up with a dust cover issue anyways. So that's not going to work. And now I have to fight to get this thing off. Bad idea, Graham. Bad idea. And in doing that, I just saw why. We'll go over that once we get into the field strip. All right, we have a nice concave front of a trigger guard that is nicely textured with crosshatch design for those that like to put a support finger up there. Also have a wee bit of a hook underneath here. This broad kind of whale fin, if you will, underneath the trigger guard, I found to be very comfortable. You do not end up getting any Glock knuckle. It's nice and smooth reaching in there and grabbing. As you saw on my 4-inch compact, I've put a lot of rounds through these. I've done a lot of holster work with PDPs, and you don't get that Glock knuckle. We've already talked about the trigger. Come around to the front strap, and you can see we've got some nice cross checkering there to provide plenty of traction. This is really where the front strap and the back strap is really where your traction is important in controlling a firearm. Love the way this magwell kicks out on the toe. It helps trap my hand in there. And additionally, if you're new to red dots, a lot of red dot error tends to be vertical axis. Squeezing your pinky helps bring the nose down, and that typically helps find your dot. Underneath we can see the magwell, not a perfect fit. It's kind of like the Magpul Glock magwell, but it functions. I mean, I can sloppily come out from inches away and still get in there. So it's going to help. If you don't like it, it is removable. As you can see, it's fitting in here and held in place by the cross pin that holds your back strap on. I can't show you how to change back straps on YouTube. They think that's gun modification, even though it was in the manual as a basic user level thing. But I do recommend trying the different back straps. You'd be surprised how much it can change your reach to the trigger and controls, as well as comfort under recoil. On the back of the slide, we also have some play. Does that serve as a... Nope, that hole is not a striker indicator. These sights look kind of silly. They are adjustable though. Little tiny screws there. That's one of the tools that came with the gun. Come on, camera. Keep up with us. But you can see our sight picture there, and there are plenty of aftermarket sights available, and I know a lot of people choose to go with a dot anyways, so it doesn't matter. Coming around the right side of the gun, we know we've got a reversible magazine release, as explained nicely in the manual, and we have our left-hander friendly slide lock and release as well. Next, we'll field strip the PDP F Pro and take a look inside the gun. The Walther PDP series is very easy to field strip, more comfortable than many others. While the takedown procedure is similar, you notice that this bar reaches all the way across here. So after we check for clear, we're going to release the striker, pull down on the bar, and just let it go forward a little bit. I say it's easier because this is a nice broad surface area to get your fingers on. It's not one of those little tiny pokey things like some other makers use, and then it slides down together in one piece rather than you fighting this weird spring-loaded angular motion. It comes down together. Slide off, we can take a look inside our frame and see our setup. The classic Walther magic. But the trigger bar is indeed shorter than it is on the 4-incher. And more importantly, what I noticed was the slide is different inside. So here is our F-Series 3.5 inch. And keep in mind, everything beyond the breech face shouldn't really matter as far as barrel length. And sorry for the stupid optic setting things off, but you notice that we have a different striker set up here between the regular PDP Compact and this new F-Series Pro, and that's why the slides weren't interchangeable between the two. Now to finish our disassembly, you notice right away we do have a dual spring system. I found these can help quite a bit tame recoil better than a single spring system, and you get sort of a progressive slide opening and closing, which tends to make them easier to rack than the ones that have to have one single stiff spring. But allow some pressure, pull that out, and then drop our barrel. Got to tap it or let it fall like this to unlock, and then we can pull it out and take a look inside of our slide. Beautiful, beautiful clean machining. While this appears to be made in the US, it appears to be no difference in quality than what we've come to expect from German Walther. In fact, the finish is just about identical. You can't see really any difference. Keep in mind this has a lot of rounds to it and is a couple years old, but yeah, really, really nicely done, Walther. I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about, but there's another company out there that can't seem to put the same finish on even the same generation of guns, and now we have what appears to be two different countries of manufacture but maintaining the same standards. I did also just now notice that we have a nice target crown on this barrel that tends to aid in accuracy by protecting the rifling, so that should this ever be dropped or make contact on the front end, you're not going to be damaging the rifling and changing the trajectory of the bullet. That is a very nice touch for a 3.5 inch barreled gun, where typically such detail is not used. Broad and nicely polished feed ramp there, and next we'll check our chamber fitment. I'll be checking chamber fitment with this Liberty Defense Liberty Ammunition Civil Defense, which is a nickel-plated case. I do that because it's around a handle all the time, and nickel plating helps with corrosion resistance. It also reduces friction, so I can feel a little better. Plus I know it's a quality case when I do this. We're going to be dropping the round into the bore and listening for a plunk, like that. You want to grab the case and see if it can rotate freely. If you feel any nudges or resistance in there, give the chamber a cleaning. It could just be dirt, but when the chamber is clean like this and you can rotate freely, that tells us that we've got a nicely bored chamber. As far as depth and support, you want to look at how much of the brass is exposed. Beyond that shoulder, we have a wee bit all the way around, but this is indeed a fully supported chamber. In fact, if I tap it in there, it fits a little deeper. The step chamber that I mentioned earlier is a really fascinating and simple way to improve accuracy, performance, and a wee bit of velocity. With some loads you can get at about 50 extra feet per second, which is kind of fascinating, and it's simply because you're getting a more complete push behind the bullet. There's not as much extra space for those expanding gases to be filling rather than pushing the bullet. As I reassemble this, I'll tell you about what you'll see in the range video. You'll see my absolute first shots through the gun. First time the thing gets fired is on camera. There's no warm-up, no practice, none of that. I don't do highlight reels, just real reviews. We'll do full magazine plus one, see how these mags run, which shouldn't be an issue. Then take it over to our trademark What's for Dinner table to see what the gun will eat by adding 10 additional loads to the test. That'll be shot on paper, not steel, so you can see if there's a difference in point of impact or things like that, but really we're looking to see will the gun run on those loads. Shorter barreled guns sometimes can be a little more picky on ammo. We'll find out. Then we've got a 6-inch spinner target shot from 12 yards for sights and trigger control, which should be fun with this. I'll do 5 shots from 7 yards for practical accuracy while I'm wrapping up my thoughts for the next section called Aftershots, which is where I'll give you the lowdown opinion on the thing after having spent a day with it. As always, if you want further details, if you want specs, if you want to figure out what this thing costs or where to find one, check the pinned comment over on my website is the full deep dive. And surprise, surprise, things published there before they publish here on YouTube. So if you want to be leading edge, check the website often or just sign up for the email list. I don't use it for marketing. I don't sell it. I don't give you guys daily deals or any of that spam type stuff. It's purely so that I can reach you guys. As you may be aware, recently here, in fact while I was out of the country, YouTube attacked the channel, deleting more than 60 videos, it turned out to be, after I counted them all, for random reasons that didn't make sense. They were all previously approved videos, and they were all syndicated videos, meaning they were used on other websites around the world who now have a broken link because YouTube wanted to take down gun content. For that reason, I pay monthly to run a website to keep the stuff safe. Since I'm paying for it, it's going to be staying there, and that's where you can always find my full reviews. Thank you for watching. Thank you for 9 years of support, and we'll see you on the range.
Thank you to our big man supporter, GBGuns, and our new two-level Andrew, P. Joseph, P. Randy, Peter A. Tom, Moises, S. Fast, Eddie, all 2-in-1, 5 Brian, P. Scott King. Thanks for the tip level, David B. Kratos, the Godslayer, Andrew B. Lee H. Christopher J. J. S. Bar, and H. Bright Font, Jeff O. Michael W. David G. O. Keith Tuga, Fred L. Robert B. Ohio Coupler, Steve A. Briscoe County, Joe Rich R. Red Sky, Waha, Etsy, Fear 76, Uncle Muzzy, David F. Keeping things on his level, Gary B. Lake Fest, Danielle D. Etsy, Jake J. Adam J. Brad M. George H. O'Fennell F. Edward B. Adrian H. Cody W. Mark S. Such, Hunter Lewis R. Edith B. Gary C. J. Logan G. Brian K. Harvey MD 2022A. Gil B. Ron Z. Court Mike NC Techno Con FT CJ Ronald LW Russ P. Marvin P. Allen B. Tabitha Nee GBC 1986.